You okay, Sarah?
Yes.
Okay. We will call to order the excuse me, January 2nd, 2025 meeting of the Historic District Commission. If we could have a roll call, Sarah, would you help us with that? Here. Here. Here.
Donahue,
Here.
Gardner,
Here.
and.
We have quorum. Thank you very much. Are there any agenda changes, additions, or deletions? Nope. Has everyone had a chance to read the minutes of the regular meeting held on November 7th of 24? And if so, do I have a motion to approve those?
I motion to approve.
Second. Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed? Okay. Public comments on tonight's agenda. Do we have any public comments about agenda items? Doesn't appear so. No unfinished business? Okay, we'll move right into new business. The first one is 333 Culver, which is a garage door replacement, which I am the applicant on that. If, before I stand up and give the overview, do you want to mention
Sure.
this application, Luke?
Thank you. So, yeah, a bit of a strange one tonight. We have three members of the Historic District Commission that have a conflict of interest regarding this application. And so under Michigan's rule of necessity, these members can participate if the following conditions are met. And the first one is quorum. A quorum cannot be reached without the conflicted members, as only three non-conflicting members would remain. Employment, the conflicted members could not work more than 25 hours per week for the city or a political subdivision. They would have to each disclose their conflict of interest, and they must affirm that they can act in the best interest of the city. So as far as procedure goes, they would state their conflict. They would affirm that they can act in the city's best interest, and then we would disclose we would put the disclosure and the affirmation in the minutes, and then we would be compliant with the law.
Great.
Any questions on that?
Any questions on that? This is the procedure we followed.
Yeah, and I will say I reached out to legal for this information too. So our legal counsel is comfortable with this procedure.
And this was the exact procedure we followed when the condominium complex redid its exterior about 2 years ago. I don't remember who was here. Megan wasn't. I don't think you were, Russ. So I'll go ahead and just give the overview. Is that okay?
Fantastic.
More appropriate doing that way. So this is for.
Don't
if you
forget
wanna-
to introduce yourself.
Oh, yeah, Tim Straker, 333 Culver Street. If you want to put the. Thanks, Sarah. So, just to the,
Looks at 16.
there you go. And actually, if you click two more in to that one. Oh, one, yeah, there you go. That's it. That one, that's it. Go back.
No,
Because I don't want to be, there you go. So there are 6 garage doors in this condominium complex. 333 Culver is my unit. There's also 33.
A bunch, 5.
Are you 5?
Yeah.
335 is Keith's. The entire exterior of this complex was redone about 2 years ago. The only thing remaining, and it was on that application, was replacement of the garage doors like as for exactly what's there, just a material change. So because we're beyond the 2 years, we're coming back for the same application. The garage doors are currently this style, which is there's no raised decorative elements at all. It's a solid garage door. It's masonite, original from 1983. And they're rotten, unfortunately, have been run into and are no longer serviceable. So this is it's called a stucco finish. It's a metal garage door, which is the least finish we can have. It's not stamped wood grain because we don't approve, the commission doesn't approve stamped wood grain of anything. And it's the most similar to what's there that we could find. So that's the cut sheet that's in there. That's pretty much it. Any questions? Oh, sorry, Sarah, if you click
Is there an
one more,
image? Yeah, I was thinking,
one more.
you had one image that showed where
There
they
you go.
are relative to the street.
So those are the 6 garage doors and you can't see them from the street. This is the view from the condominiums themselves down into the motor court. And those are the 6 doors. They actually won't look any different than what you see there, especially with some slight color variation.
Thanks, Tim. So essentially, other than new doors, it's not going to appear to be any different to
It's not.
a casual observer.
Nope.
I don't know if we need to go around the room.
Yeah, I don't know.
If we-
You guys,
I have no concerns or comments.
I don't have any concerns or comments.
I guess
No
nobody else can
questions.
say.
okay. Do you want me to?
I will note that I think just for the record and just for the minutes, if we had the 3 of you, just say, I have a conflict of interest because I live at this address. I can act in the best interests of the city, and that we'll make sure that's in the minutes, and then we'll be good to go.
Okay, I have a conflict of interest, but I will act in the best interest of the city.
Keith Patterson, I have a conflict of interest for this, and I will do my best to represent the city.
Tim Straker, I have a conflict of interest and I will do my best to represent the city's interest. Now, Luke, just help us with one more thing. Do the 3 of us vote on this,
Yeah.
given that? Okay,
Yes, you can engage in voting.
okay. Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion. So the proposed replacement garage door, I'm sorry, we have no concerns with the replacement doors based on the general district standards. If the HDC determines the application standards of the historic preservation are met with no additional considerations.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Just Chairman Straker, I would just motion that that's the actual motion is not been read yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm.
Good point.
Sorry, thank you. I move to approve the 6 replacement garage doors in accordance with the plans and details submitted with the application materials. And there are no following conditions.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you. A second. Any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes?
Yes. Opposed? Thank you. We will move on to the second application tonight under new business, 611 Lake Street, a new pool and spa. Come on up. If you'd, we've all read your application and apologize that the meeting was delayed because of weather last time. I appreciate your patience. So
can't.
we've read it 2 months in a row.
Hey, great.
Anything you'd like to add that's not already in the application?
No, everything is in there and should be pretty straightforward.
Okay. Has everyone had a chance to look and would anyone like to ask any clarifying questions? Anyone have any concerns?
I had one question and I think I clarified it later on, but there's a picture of it almost like an outdoor bar hut. And then it wasn't in the discussions, but was that an example of the concrete tiles that you were putting in around the pool?
Yeah, so many of the selections have not been made at
Okay.
this point. So this is for the pool shell
Okay.
and the spa shell. So there are some elements, I'm not sure. Can you point out?
It was later on in the pictures and it was, I think it was keep going, keep going, keep going. It was that one. I think your example was showing
Oh, so
that,
this
and I
is,
saw the pool hut there. I go, and I couldn't find any discussion on
yeah,
that.
so this is just an example,
Okay,
not, this is not our plan.
okay.
So this would be the example of the proposed patio material, which is at this point thermal bluestone for the patio decking.
Thank
So
you.
that's the only reason why that picture was used.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Russ, did you have a?
Yeah, thank you for being here this evening. So
Yeah.
this is where I know we were talking about goals. I see my role as the community nuance, which I'll be interested to learn a little bit more about. This property is of interest. It was one of my family's homes back in the day. And my grandparents used to live right across the street. And interestingly enough, the condos that are just and again, it's one of the benefits of being on the Historic District Commission. I get to see angles of this community I just don't see or have never, or just have forgotten about it. And looking south or north, excuse me, to the condominiums that I didn't even realize there was a kidney-shaped pool behind those condominiums. But what got my interest is that those condominiums, as a reminder, is that my grandparents' house was called Calaview back in the day because when they lived there, there was absolutely nothing obscuring their view except a place that used to be called Bird Center, which is about where Old Pike is. And so anyway, this brings back just kind of memories about what this area was like back in the day. And yeah, I have no opposition to this request. It is just, again, just reminds me of how far the community has come from where it was in terms of what the waterfront used to look like. And you know, again, this will have no impact on the property in terms of his historic contribution because it's a non-contributing structure. But anyway, so that's kind of my putting on my old guy hat, I guess, at this point, but just a very interesting perspective on the community and the properties on the waterfront. And yeah, so.
Thank you, Russ.
I had one.
Yep.
Is there a fence around this?
There,
Is that part of the application?
there is not, in this plan.
Okay.
There is I believe this is an auto cover
Oh,
pool.
okay, so there's no
Um,
requirement.
So there's no
Okay,
requirement. If
got it.
What we do, typically, we do install an auto cover on our pools.
it.
So,
Didn't
I
know.
will note as well that this, once gets approval from you guys, has to go through zoning and Michigan Township Services
I
too.
understand.
So,
but
yeah.
I just didn't know if there's fencing, but
Yeah.
no, thank you.
John, do you have any?
The project description says custom gunite in-ground swimming pool with attached raised gunite spa. And then you're mentioning the terrace material too. Is that part of the application as well? That's part of the pool, the bluestone?
the vertical, would you mind clicking so you're talking about?
Well, the picture with the bluestone, is that part of the application or is it?
Mhm.
That was just
Okay,
that was just a
okay.
representation of the bluestone.
Well, we're here to discuss the gunite pool and the spa.
Yes.
That's it, right? That's
Correct.
And there is existing bluestone on site.
There's
so-
existing. Okay,
So I mean, it's the same material that's there.
got it.
And there was also discussion around the facade of the spa being bluestone as well. So that's kind of where we're at this point. So that's the reason why it was.
I know we're a month behind because of the last meeting, so I'm fine. I don't have any questions either. My question would be, as we make the motion for this, is that when your final materials are chosen, that be submitted for staff approval. Because technically, we should have all the materials as part of that application, but knowing that you have bluestone there, you're showing bluestone, and that the materials are going to be natural, and that there's no structure. I think that'll get you moving, and then still just allow you to, and Luke and the city team will look at that and make sure that the materials are indeed natural materials that follow our guidelines. Otherwise, I think
That's completely reasonable. Like,
Yeah.
we'll get that information to you for sure.
Would anyone like to make a motion? Any more questions?
Yeah,
ahead.
thank you, Chairman Stricker. So Luke had answered my question. This will be going to zoning, but the question I've had before is with in-ground pools, even with covers. Does the city have an ordinance that requires fencing around pools to protect, for safety? And
I
I just don't recall, so I'm asking just for general interest.
So I think that I know that it's covered under Michigan Building Code. So either you need fencing or a locking safety cover, and then there are requirements for the cover itself. Whether we have something as well, off the top of my head, I don't know. But obviously, once this comes to me,
Got it.
appropriate review will be done. I
And
will say that when it came to me a couple months ago, I spoke with Dave about this one, and he very quickly looked it through, and he didn't have any concerns on it. When it first came through, obviously I was still a little fresher than I am, so a little underwater. So I was like, Dave, real quick, would you just check this out? And he said, yeah, it looks fine. So we'll review and make sure that all the bases are covered there.
I think we would care more about the materiality of the fence, as long as the fence
Ah, yeah.
meets the guidelines. Like
Okay.
if it were a big PVC 6-foot fence, we
Yeah.
wouldn't be fond of that.
But if
But
they
otherwise-
applied
but-
for a fence, we'd have to come back.
Right,
Yeah.
it would need to meet the fence height requirements, and then in the district, it would need to meet our
Absolutely.
material guidelines.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Anybody have a motion?
I do have one more question. You
Yeah, go ahead.
clarified that we want to see the materials. Are you proposing natural stone or cultured stone on that spa? Or do you know yet?
It would be a natural.
Natural versus cultured?
Yeah, it went back and forth a couple times,
Okay.
but natural.
Natural. Okay, very nice. Yep, okay, just wanted to clarify that.
Anybody want to make a motion?
I will. I move to approve the installation of a deck, in-ground pool and spa in accordance with the plans and details submitted within the application materials. Approval shall be subject to the following conditions, which would be the applicant providing actual sample materials for staff approval.
Thank you. Do you have a second?
I second.
Thank you. Any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes, opposed? Great. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming back in. Good luck
Thank
with your project. Next is 880 Holland Street. Hi, come on up. We've all reviewed your application. Is there anything else you'd like to add as a project overview of what you're looking to accomplish? And please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Amy Cook, representing the Southerner. And we are at 880 Holland Street in Saugatuck, and year-round restaurant. I'm sure you are all familiar. We've experienced tremendous growth over the last 3 years. Matt and I bought out our partners in 2021, and since then, it's been a bit of a juggernaut. So we've been making casual improvements to our refrigeration, which we did last winter, and various interior improvements to upgrade the building, which is incredibly old, parts of it. We inherited quite a hornet's nest there. But in order to accommodate a lot of the growth, we find we are in need of further refrigeration to support our bar operations. And we also need more storage for those operations and front of house. So we are proposing an 18 by 20 foot addition to the south end of the building, which will not increase our seating, but will house storage and a 8 by 9 walk-in cooler, which will of course deal with draft beer and all of our bar refrigeration. We are proposing a new to-go bar service window on the front of the building. We currently have one now that we put in during COVID, which really helped us deal with the requirements of restaurants at that time. Now we utilize that front deck and that bar window to keep our guests on site while they're waiting for a table. Along with the addition, we are proposing with the Liquor Control Commission to fence in the remaining portion of that south end of the property so that we will have licensed space to serve alcohol while people are waiting for a table. We find if people come to us, either they join our wait list through Google or they show up on site. If we tell them, unfortunately, that there's an hour or an hour and a half wait, we run the risk of them leaving. We'd like to keep them there. It's a great atmosphere. So that will allow for us to create legal space for people to enjoy a beverage while they wait for their table and maybe a snack. Additionally, since we put in the new walk-in cooler last winter, we are in need of fencing to separate it from our neighbor to the north. Pat has been very gracious and is a great neighbor, but we'd like to complete our due diligence on that, extend the existing 8-foot tall fence toward the river, and then making a 90-degree turn to enclose a storage shed and, remove the sight lines to all of that back of house. We are going to install, if we are approved, install a new generator in the front. 2 years ago, we had a lengthy power outage, which cost quite a bit of money. And we can support the restaurant with an 80 kilowatt generator. The only thing that we left up in the air was whether that generator was going to be screened or not. I wasn't real excited about the idea of putting an 8-foot fence around it. We have a 4-foot tall vinyl fence that is visible heading to the marina, and then a shorter vinyl fence along the property lines between us and the park house and us in the parking of our marina to the south. So we will definitely screen that generator from view, but sort of want to know what the commission's pleasure is on material for that fence. Otherwise, we plan to match all existing finishes, including the waterside deck. We have a cable railing. It's framed with treated lumber, as is the deck. So we would continue that look on the front of the building at our existing deck with the bar waiting area and then the new ground level waiting area.
Great. That's very helpful.
Sure.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Does anyone have questions?
Can I just ask a clarifying? So
Sure.
the 42-inch tall fencing, that's with the
Cable.
cable, okay,
Yep.
right there, okay.
We have a framed railing that doesn't have any guard below the top rail along the deck, which we want to include. Add some cable to that, and then the rest will be here.
Okay.
This is an existing vinyl picket fence.
That was my question too. Hi, Amy.
Hi.
There's three different fence materials. And, okay,
And that doesn't include what, if you wanted to end up fencing the
Generator.
generator into, will that be?
We would match one of the two solid fences. Or, I mean, probably the least eye-catching would be if we did a solid wood fence, but kept the height a
Mhm.
little lower to just
cover.
screen the generator. And the generator is 4 foot tall.
I have an odd question.
Yeah.
Anybody? Before I,
Yeah,
go ahead, Russ.
I'll let
just
John-
struggling with the three fences and the vinyl especially, but it's already there. It was there. Did you guys put that in?
That was put in before we purchased pardon me, the fence that, could you bring up the
Yeah,
site
It
plan?
goes all the way down the side,
Previous-
right, by the boat barn.
Previous sheet?
44.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's an existing fence from here to here that is a vinyl picket. And when we wanted to fence between our property and Park House, we matched that. And that was approved by, I believe, administratively approved.
It may have been approved because something was already there.
That was my
Yeah.
understanding.
Yeah.
I don't love it either.
Russ, were you gonna?
Yeah, so when I consider this place to be historic, it's only historic because it's been there for a long time.
Yeah,
Right?
it's not
been the elbow-
contributing.
It's been the elbow room and there's some, anyway, long story short is that what was something that was just kind of out of sight has become more visible because of the success that they've had. More people pay attention to it. What I really what I really would like to see, and this sounds kind of strange, is it's very eclectic. It looks like it's just been thrown together. But that's just because it's been passed through a number of hands, and it sounds like it's going to be in your hands now for a while. So I appreciate the fact that there's, neon lights, fried chicken, your open sign and the Christmas lights and things. That I love. I think that's, so the more uniform you would make this, I think the less interesting it becomes. Kind of my perspective on it, because it's evolved into something that's very, I don't know. Do you understand what I'm?
I do. And I support your comment because, there's nothing we can do to bring that into any sort of attractive compliance. It's just the nature of the structure itself. So we're leaning into that, like you said. And the deck on the riverside was another COVID ad that was very, very fortunate for us. So when we did that, we wanted a sort of a nondescript railing so that people could see through it and see the water, because it needs to be so tall to, be a code compliant guard. And also so that our guests inside the restaurant can look out the windows and still see the water. So it became an idea for us to do a transparent railing there. And I think we want the same feel in the front, maybe even to screen that picket railing that you can see at the marina.
I guess if I use our guidelines as because that's what we're supposed to do. It is non-contributing, but that doesn't mean it doesn't matter.
No, I know.
I'm just, in this one person's opinion, I actually think the proliferation of more materials doesn't, in my opinion, doesn't make it more eclectic. It makes it more non-contributing. I'd love to see, there's always going to be a variety of things going on here that give it spirit, and that's fine. I wouldn't add more. I would make it more consistent. I think railings of steel or the cable, thank you, couldn't find my word, are different than fencing. So even if you were able to leave your, obviously leave your railings of cable, but be consistent with what fencing you put up. Like, I actually really like your application of the original fencing, and I think it's to the right as you approach the property, that tall wood fence. And is that the cooler behind that?
Yes.
Okay. In my memory of past applications, it feels like there was going to be something done to the front of the building that maybe you guys never did. You chose not to do. And I don't remember what that was. Was it an awning?
Our very first application, we had proposed to put our barbecue pit out in front.
That's what it was.
And it became problematic to have that and to sacrifice parking.
Got it.
So we used the south end of the property, but we really aren't doing barbecue anymore. So, yeah.
Well, that was going to be my other question. Are those in your photos, the barbecue trailers? Is that where those will always stay?
No, they come in and out.
They do,
Depending on purpose. And we actually plan to utilize them more for catering next summer.
I mean, where I was going, I feel like it's almost more successful on that barbecue pit side to have something solid that mitigates a lot of the activity fence-wise. Ironically, none of us are talking about the addition, because I think the addition feels normal. It feels like an extension of what's already there. It's the same materiality. It doesn't do anything differently than your building is doing now. I'm sort of more concerned with the fencing than I am the addition.
The cable?
Well, just the
Or-
fact that there's vinyl picket, there's 8-foot wood, which I think is really successful in masking and mitigating. And then what we add that's new fence is what's important to me, that it matches. And I'm less concerned about the generator being shielded. Honestly, there's so much else
Yeah.
that's not.
Well, this property, if I had to compare it to another property in our area, I would compare it to Red Dock. Even though Red Dock isn't as much of a building, it has that same feel and the character that you're talking about, but there's a certain cohesion that Red Dock has, and the new owners have increased that cohesiveness where I just worry that this gets less cohesive, and I don't know that it gives it any more charm and character. And I am hung up on the fence, even though that there was one there. I just think it pulls the place down. Even though it's wonky and Key Westy and, there is a cool factor with that. I like it.
Yeah, well,
There's a
I
way to play up on that, and there's a way to lean into it, and there's a way to go away from it.
Well, maybe we should,
can
put
you
the-
bring up the picture of the waterside deck?
yeah, and maybe we should put the fence to the side for a second. Does anyone have any questions about the addition itself?
Yeah, the only question that I had was, on the south, you used to be able to, people would go down to the docks. Is that blocked off now?
That's, actually, no one's
That's-
been able to get down there other than marina slip holders.
Okay,
So
so
you
that's
can-
not for your guests to go down.
No,
No.
no, we restrict
You know what
access.
I'm talking about.
Mhm.
It would just be to the south of that
Yep.
middle picture there.
So, we have this existing rail,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why we
Mm-hmm.
moved toward the
Yep.
cable.
Yep.
Makes sense.
It makes sense.
And I think it becomes pretty transparent.
Yep.
So if we had the same outline and just had the cable to meet, the code requirements,
Where you're showing right there
yeah.
on that deck, I don't have an issue with that because again, that doesn't feel like a fence. That feels like a railing and you're being consistent on all your railings. My bigger question was just to this side of that where you would have walked down in the past to the, whatever you fenced that in with is probably my biggest concern. Because I think that I'm making it up, but if your barbecue equipment was your trailers come in and out, that's covering those up. So you've reduced something visually if stuff can be behind there, but I don't know if that's even possible. But but it doesn't matter if it's not an opaque fence.
I think Matt was gonna say something.
Oh. Could be reading your concerns incorrectly, but we're not proposing a new style of fence or new materials. We're just extending my understanding of it. It's really using the same materials that we already have in place at the
In other
southern.
places,
doing
Yeah.
close
yeah.
Yep, yep.
fix.
We get it.
Yep. And I think we're
Really just trying to make the existing deck and the new picnic area feel like one cohesive space.
Yep. So maybe said another way, our conversation is probably trying to mitigate the third fence. You have a cable railing, you have a 8-foot wooden fence, and then you have the vinyl pickets. If I could turn down the volume on the vinyl pickets, I would.
I think we would agree with that. I think for us, it would be more in our long-term goal to remove the vinyl fencing than to lean into that as our chosen product. And I think we'd love to see, again, more natural materials if we were to replace those fences at some point. I personally would not like to see the vinyl fencing closing our new picnic area. I don't think that would be a good
No.
look. Even though it may be more cohesive, it may match the existing fences that are out there. But I guess I'm not understanding where the concern about a new material coming in. I think we're just continuing a material that's already
Yeah.
in use.
No, you're right. I think we're talking about almost like proliferation of 3.
I see what you mean.
Yeah, more than it is, because you're not introducing anything.
Yeah.
Like with that, on the 42-inch side where the white picket is going, could you do 42-inch wood? Just solid wood?
I don't know. We're not putting any new white.
Yeah. there's
Oh, you're
no
not
way
putting new,
that-
okay.
We're getting hung up.
I misunderstood
Not
that.
part of the.
I misunderstood that. That's my fault. I'm sorry.
So, yeah, so this is the.
That's there.
separation between our seating areas and the marina.
Yeah.
So that's private docks. Honestly, I'd love to replace that, but, so out front in this area, would be a continuation of the cable.
Yeah.
So that you won't even see that, hopefully, once it's populated with people. And the smokers, actually, we have both of them up there right now, but.
One of them's gone.
Yeah, one of them's gone.
The second one may or may not have a permanent space there. It's really, we don't do barbecue anymore because it was just too labor intensive to do both. So I think, it's nice to have it out there to remind people, make it feel a little bit more southern in the space, but it doesn't get a lot of use. And as Amy said, I think our long-term plan is to use it for off-premise catering. So it'll be off-site quite a bit, and it might not end up living in the space during the summer months.
Or just be picnic tables for folks who are waiting.
The vinyl fence too, if I could just throw this in. I think it does help us a little bit differentiate between the marina and the restaurant. We do try to keep the marina space private. We would have, before we really stop people from going down, they poke their heads in people's boats and just kind of get on the nerves of most of the boaters. So we do really like to make sure that that space is, that it's obvious that that is a new space, a different space that you're entering, and that it's a private space. So the signage you can see there is, hey, you don't go down there.
And but that's your fence, not because I used to have a boat in that marina, so.
We
I
own
know
both.
We
what
own
you're
the
talking
marina
about.
as
Yeah,
well.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, that was gonna be my next question. So you actually own the slips now? So,
And the building,
And the boat barn.
Oh, that's yours too.
oh, the barn is next door. It used to be owned by the Frisses, right? Is that? was
Well,
that
we-
right? That-
We were partners with the first.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, got it.
yeah.
All right. So
We
Saginaw
bought
Gas,
that,
Saginaw
yeah.
Gas Service owns the other side. So,
exactly.
okay. So you're a marine operator too.
We are.
All right.
And we have an
Um,
Airbnb.
So,
Central Marina.
yeah, because that was gonna be my other question in terms of access down to the slips. So there's no easement because you own it. So it's,
Right.
you just, you're gonna keep that open. So that extension of this addition is essentially gonna come up to here somewhere, right?
It comes beyond our screen porch about 5.
Oh, okay, so you'll
So
still see the
you'll
water.
still see the water.
and- okay,
Yep.
That's one of the.
But you see, yeah,
Yeah, because there's a general sense in the community in terms of planning and zoning to not obstruct the use of the water.
right.
So,
We agree wholeheartedly with that.
yeah, so your extension, I don't think it's gonna make a huge impact, but, well, I didn't know that you'd own the property too, of the marina, so.
There is a little space too next
We're
to the
fortunate.
screened-in porch. That has that little tree there. It's kind of a
Okay.
weird little, probably 10 by 15 space that guests can wander out to see the boats.
Yeah, they can stand there and take photos.
So you've got customer parking inside the barn too,
That's for the slip holders.
just for the slip.
Yeah,
holders,
customer
okay.
park, employee parking outside the barn and then customer parking all up in front.
So said another way to my earlier question, that bottom photo that shows the picket. Basically, what we're talking about is extending the cable railing from the deck out in front, like where the picnic table is basically, and enclosing, so you have an enclosed area on the front that's cable fencing 42 high, and on the back is picket fencing 42 high.
Exactly.
We are required, of course, by the MLCC to provide fencing in any licensed area. And it is a little problematic for us now to manage because people do feel at home in the
Walking out there with a
environment,
drink.
and they'll just absentmindedly wander into the yard.
Social district, right?
Social district,